I watched this child protection case hearing yesterday morning, and I really wanted to share it because I found it so refreshing. It's a very, very different case than what I'm actually used to seeing on these. It's a case where it's not parental neglect, it's not harm being done to a child. This is parents who were clearly desperate, a mom who was desperate to get help for her daughter before her daughter ended up in a situation that she couldn't come back from. From what I gather, the father hasn't been in the picture for a lot of this teenager's life due to being incarcerated. He's out now and seems to be doing what he can to get his life back on track and rebuild a relationship. But up until now, this mom has been on her own and reached out for help. And amazingly, it seems like the system is working in favor of this child, and it's just so nice to see. I apologize for the dog barking in the background. I get very little quiet. I love this judge. This judge cares. It's evident in all of the hearings that I've watched of him. Judge Stuckey, he cares deeply, but nothing seems to faze him, which is really neat to see. I also just want to mention that, again, this is not a case where a child was apprehended. This is a case where a mom, out of desperation for help for her daughter, is getting help from the agencies in the way that it's supposed to be. So many people are afraid of CPS and child protection agencies, and it's just really nice to see a positive attempt to really help a child. I've done my absolute best to remove the child's name from this video. I realized that with the parents being named and whatnot, it wouldn't be a stretch for somebody to figure out who, but just, this is a teenager and it's hard enough what she's going through. So for this, just the sake of privacy and just trying to be as decent as I can in sharing this, I have taken her name out in every instance that I could find. If I missed one, I apologize. I listened several times and I continued to edit, but I hope that I've done a good job on removing her name and a couple of other just private details from this video. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did, and I will stop talking and jump right in.
In Lavaca County, Texas, we are set today for an initial permanency hearing. This case is currently pending in Lavaca County. The court is hearing this case on behalf of the 25th Judicial District Court of Lavaca County. This case is being done today in a virtual courtroom and is being live streamed to YouTube. And this case is being heard today by the Syntax Child Protection Court South. We're going to have announcements of the attorneys, and we'll start with the department, please.
Melissa Cuadrado for the Department of Family and Protective Services.
Okay, Ms. Elvig.
Ms. Katrina Elvig for the child.
Okay, the court knows that we have Sky Garza with us today, the mother in this case, as well as Belong, an agent of the department, and we have Casa with us here today. So, Ms. Cuadrado, who would you like to call as a witness?
Miss Itz.
Okay. Ms. Itz, if you raise your right hand for me, please. You swear the testimony you're going to provide in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Okay, let me unmute you there. Okay, there you go.
Sir, I do.
Yes. Okay. And it looks like Ronnie Garza has now come into our waiting room, so I'm going to let him into the hearing. Okay, the court also knows we have Mr. Ronnie Garcia participating with us now by video. He is, according to the court's records, the father to area child that's subject to this suit. Okay, so Ms. Curado, whenever you're ready, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Miss Itz.
Good afternoon.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Tracy Itz.
And Miss Itz, where are you employed?
I am a permanency specialist for SJRC Belong, formerly known as the department.
Okay. And
I'm sorry.
That's okay. You just took me by surprise there. Is Belong an agent of the department that's providing case management services?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Now, Miss, how old is
Anna is 15.
and where is she currently placed?
She is currently placed at Roads to Wisdom. It's an RTC in Houston.
Okay. Is that a relatively new placement?
Yes, ma'am. She was placed there on November 10th.
And why did there need to be a change in placement?
Her previous placement, Ayanti, requested a discharge due to her ongoing behaviors at placement. There was allegations of abuse, and they were alleging her as the perpetrator.
Okay. And have those allegations been looked into to determine whether or not there's any validity to those?
Yes, ma'am. They have been investigated. There's been investigation by RCCL and also by Sugarland Police Department, an investigator there. Both of them, in a nutshell, seem to believe that she is not the aggressor. However, they are forwarding their findings to their superiors. For example, the investigator at Sugarland is forwarding his findings over to the DA's office.
Okay, okay. So as of this moment, there haven't been any charges or anything filed against her, correct?
Not for that incident, no, ma'am.
Okay, all right. And so when did she make this change in placement?
She was placed at Roads to Wisdom on November 10th.
Okay. And how has she been doing since it's been a little, just over a month? How has she been doing since she was placed there?
She had been doing fairly well. We were pretty much incident free for the most part. She's going to public school there at the placement, and about a week ago or so, placement contacted the department and notified us that she had assaulted another peer that is placed at the same placement as her, but the assault took place at school. And there's being charges pursued on that assault.
Okay. And I'm sorry if you already stated this. When did this take place?
I cannot recall the exact date, ma'am, but approximately around a week ago.
Okay, okay. What kind of services are you receiving at the RTC?
She's receiving individual therapy with Sylvia Palos, and then she's also receiving group therapy. Both of those are weekly. And then she's receiving monthly therapy for sexual behaviors with Jessica Davis.
Okay. And what about any family therapy?
Is still receiving family therapy at this time. She hasn't made enough progress in her individual to reach that point yet, ma'am.
Okay, okay. And does she receive any kind of psychotropic medication?
Yes, ma'am. She takes
when was her last, if you can recall, when her last medication review was?
it's been recent, like within the last week or so ago. And she also was in a psych hospital for over the weekend and just was released last night.
Okay. And why was she taken to the psych hospital?
She was having suicidal thoughts.
Okay. And you said she returned to placement yesterday?
Last night, yes,
Do
ma'am.
you think that this current placement is going to be able to meet our needs?
I'm certainly hoping so, yes, ma'am.
Okay. What's her current level of care?
It is intense.
Okay. All right. Do you believe that her current placement continues to be in her best interest at this time?
I do.
And is Belong asking that the court continue our placement at Roads to Wisdom?
I am.
Okay. all right. Can you think of anything that the court could order that would specifically go to help Ariana at this time?
I'm not at this time, no, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Let's turn to the parents. Can you remind us and the court what services is Miss Garza required to participate in?
Certainly. I just have gone over an updated family plan on both parents, actually, and we'll be filing that with the court here shortly. I've just obtained their signatures. Miss Garza, Sky Garza, is court ordered for family therapy. Of course, we're not able to get her to participate in that yet due to behaviors. Her family plan also provides that she participate in trauma-informed parenting classes through Chosen. Miss Garza's almost completed that service. And her family plan also provides that she attend and participate in parent-child visits. And Miss Garza's been completely in compliance with her plan. She attends parent-child visits both electronically and in person.
Okay. So you said that she's almost done with the trauma-informed parenting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Miss Garza was not ordered to participate in any kind of individual therapy?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So it sounds like that what's remaining for Miss Garza to do is to finish her trauma-informed parenting and to engage in family therapy once that becomes something that can actually be done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Let's turn to Mr. Garza. What services was he court ordered to participate in?
I have done an updated family plan with Mr. Garza as well. And that family plan that he has agreed to work with me just in the last few days, I've gone over it with him. It provides that he have monthly contact with the department and full cooperation with the department, that he participates in parent-child visits when that time comes. I have spoken with Mr. Garza and let him know that his parent-child visits would start first as in family therapy so that he could build a rapport with his daughter first, but that she's not stable enough for that yet. And that Mr. Garza participate in parenting classes and that he participate in BIP classes. He does say that he has already completed BIP classes, so I'll be marking that off of his tasks as soon as I get proof of such. Random drug testing, and if he should test positive on any drug test, then he'll participate in a drug and alcohol assessment and follow any recommendations. Multi-agency cooperations, for example, his parole or probation officer, he would make sure and sign releases so that we could communicate with them. He'll participate in a psychological evaluation and follow any recommendations thereof, and in individual therapy.
Okay. And what services, if any, is Mr. Garza actively participating in at this time?
Well, I just created this family plan with him just within the last week. And so I'm actually in the process of setting those services up right now, all of these services that I just listed off.
Okay, all right. So the family plan of service that was filed for Mr. Garza back in August, had he started any of those services?
He had been participating in random drug testing. I don't have a positive drug test. All have been negative to date. And he had been set up for a psychological evaluation. He was living in Houston in a halfway house, and he's recently moved back to Yoakum. And so while in Houston, he was set up for a psychological evaluation that had been rescheduled a couple of times to the point where it didn't happen. So I'll be setting him up with someone here locally. And then he also had a domestic violence assessment done by Monarch Family Services. And I've reached out to them quite a few times for a copy of that assessment. I'm still waiting to hear back if they recommend he continue with BIP classes. sorry, I was looking over it. I believe that is it for right now. He did just start working this week at a new, he did start new employment this week, locally in Yoga.
Okay. So how would you gauge his compliance then? Would you gauge him, would you say that he's in compliance, in partial compliance, or not in compliance?
I would say that due to him missing some appointments with his psych eval, that he would be partial compliance at this time.
Okay, okay. Okay, and do you believe that Mr. Garza understands what the department is requiring him to do?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. What is the current permanency goal in this case?
The current goal is family reunification.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that Miss Garza is completing all of her parent-child visits. How often are those happening?
They're sporadic. It's when Miss Garza can get to Houston and make arrangements to do so. She, over Thanksgiving, even when picked up and brought her home for a day visit to the house. So, I mean, she's very involved.
Okay. And how did that day visit go?
To my understanding, it went very well.
Okay, all right. So her in-person visits may be sporadic because she has to travel, but is she participating in virtual visits?
I'm not quite sure about virtual, ma'am, but they are speaking on the phone quite frequently. Or to call her as often as she likes.
Okay, all right. All right. So they're having regular contact.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Okay. And at this time, the department doesn't have any concerns with that, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. All right. Is there anything else that you believe the court needs to know today about her parents?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I'm sorry. A correction. The assault that occurred at school
Yes.
last week or so, they are pursuing criminal charges on that. And we do believe that's one of the reasons why the psych hospital, because she was so upset over that she went into the hospital.
Okay. 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 All right. Thank you for that clarification. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
Ms. Elvick.
Only if I miss it, I want to compliment you for keeping me up to speed. And while you were responding to Ms. Guardo's questions, it was December the 5th of the incident report is the one where the alleged contact with the other child. And then, or that's what my records reflect of the alleged assault. And then is back as of last night.
Yes, ma'am. I apologize. I was in trial in another case this morning. And so it took me a minute to get everybody updated on that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I mean, I don't have, and I agree with you at this point, her needs are being met the best they can be met, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
She's got a lot of issues that the therapist or the professionals are still working with her.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, pass the witness.
Ms. Corrado, anything else of this witness?
No, Judge.
Okay, any other witnesses?
No, Judge.
Ms. Elvick, any other witnesses you wish to call?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay, so I do note that we have Blake Taylor with us from Chosen. Ma'am, is there anything that you wanted us to know today, or are you just observing for the benefit of your clients?
Yeah, I'm just here for support for Sky today, and just to say what Miss Ed said, that Sky's been very compliant, regularly been attending sessions with me since about June of this year.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And let's see. So we have Ms. Sanders. It looks like you're the only one here from CASA today. So if you'll raise your right hand, so I can give you an oath, please. You swear the testimony you're going to provide in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
And Ms. Sanders, what would CASA like me to know about this family today?
Has her ups and downs. When I visited her on December 1st, everything was good. She was great. She really wants to go home. She has dreams of becoming a nurse. She understands that her mental health needs need to be addressed. And when things get tough, we end up with like a cycle where she ends up in the hospital. She was very concerned for the amount of time her mom had to drive to come see her. And that she said mom spent 8.5 hours on the road Thanksgiving Day to pick her up and to return her. But she was very happy to get to go home and see her family and get to spend that time at home. And she was hoping to do it again at Christmas. I'm hopeful that we can figure out something so she can go home to mom or dad sooner than later.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sanders. So good afternoon, Ms. Garza. Let me see if I can unmute you there. Let's see. There we go. Ma'am, if you'll raise your right hand for me, please. You swear the testimony you're going to provide in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Let's see. I can't quite hear you, so.
I do.
Okay, there we go. Better. Okay. So, Ms. Garza, you are a temporary joint management server in this case with the department. That's what my records reflect. So, what would you like me to know about your daughter today? Is there anything that I can either help you with, or you think that I need to be ordering or considering ordering for it today?
Most importantly, I feel I'm not exactly sure what I want ordered, but I do feel that there should be more being done. I know that everyone is utilizing their resources as much as possible, but her being in a public school and in a facility like the facility, it's very less restrictive. And those are all the options that my husband and I have already offered for her. She's been in and out of nearly 20 facilities that have all been at this level of care. She has expressed to me already that she does not feel that she will ever be able to comply with any of it because she can't, as she says in her own words, she can't trust herself she doesn't have enough self-control to be around others, which is concerning because she is a danger to her peers, which has proven time and time again. She's at a high school where she's not being monitored, which has proven time and time again that is not, it's not in her best interest nor her peers' best interest. Somebody always winds up getting hurt, and she later very upset about it, so much so that she wants to harm herself. She goes to a hospital. She has made an attempt after the last allegation of the sexual assault. She was placed in a facility and she tried to hang. That day when I saw her, I went to the facility and there's no light in her eyes. She's very upset, the same as she was just this last week when she messed up and assaulted a student. And I asked her why, and she said that she didn't have a very good reason. She just felt that she couldn't control hurting the girl. And so then she goes to another facility and she feels hopeless and she feels like she's never going to do good. And for my daughter, I went down this path to fight for her needs. And I don't feel as though this is anything other than what we've already tried to offer her. The school here couldn't handle her. The school there can't handle her. She does not need to be in any unsupervised facility. The last facility that she was in where the sexual assault took place, she was unsupervised. I'm not happy about that. She should under no circumstances be unsupervised at any point, because then she gets into these kinds of situations and then she feels like she's this awful person and that she has no self-control. And the self-control might not be there, but she's not an awful person. She has some psychological instabilities, but she needs care for that. I feel like she needs a higher level of care, and she doesn't need to be left unsupervised like she's a normal student when she's not a normal student, nor are the other children that live with her. So being unsupervised, I feel like leaves a window of opportunity for her to get into these situations. And the last thing that I want to see is for her to wind up going to a detention facility because she can't stop getting into these situations, when I feel as though there's got to be something out there that is a more restrictive environment, but that caters to the psychological aspect of what she's needing. And those are my thoughts. I just feel as though I'm tired of watching my child be hopeless and offering her, these facilities are the same things over and over. None of these facilities have been able to help her. So I don't understand why we're going to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
So, Ms. Garza, I'm sorry to hear all that, because I am with you. I don't want to do the same things that you and your husband did before you got here. Though the whole point of getting the department's assistance and the state's assistance was to hopefully find resources that you and your husband did not have, or have available, or at an affordable cost. So I don't really want to have your daughter in care either, trying the same thing that previously didn't work. So Miss Itz, is there any other facilities that could be located to provide more, one-on-one, or at least one on, we'll say 5-on-1 or less, supervision? Let me unmute you. There you go.
Thank you, sir. Honestly, Judge, since we have done the transition over to Belong, I'm not 100% sure of all of our facilities at this time. There are some that, I've had in mind, and I don't mind asking our intake team about, that have worked for other children in the past, but I can't guarantee that just because I want to go there that they will accept her.
And where are those facilities? Besides, maybe I'm familiar with some of them.
Well, one of them would be out of state, unfortunately, but it has proven effective for quite a few children in the past. At Southern Peaks in Colorado.
Okay.
That one has certainly come to mind for me because I've had another child with similar issues to, and she was able to successfully complete the program.
Okay, well, obviously, as a Texas judge, I don't particularly want to move children out of state, but I also want to meet their, make sure their needs are met. So one reason I wanted to get the name out there is so that, Ms. Garza can do some research and say, hey, I know it's out of state, but that might be a good option, or that doesn't look any better than, what you all have here in Texas. So, the department has a continuing obligation to try to meet her needs. And I know that's very difficult in some of these cases. The first part of the case is, just kind of getting, everybody involved, figuring out what those needs are. But the fact that continues to have a rough time, potentially, involving herself in juvenile matters, that's a problem. And it's a problem because we can't fix the issues that she has, and then we're piling on additional new things. And so I'm not faulting Belong or anybody else. I'm just saying, like, the idea is to get her to a better place and not potentially return her to a family in a worse shape than she was when she came into the state's care. So, Ms. Elvig, anything you'd like me to know today in making decisions? Any ideas about placement?
Well, I think of Pegasus, which is for boys, if there's something similar in Texas for girls. Very complicated young lady with some real issues. Her basic needs are being met, but I would agree with what you've heard so far, Your Honor. She really probably would, at least I would think that we would feel better, all of the professionals, we could find a one-on-one program for her. And I don't know with the current allegations if that's going to grow up and be something that the state of Texas has to provide in another manner. I don't know at all, but she is very complicated. Her basic needs are being met. She's safe, but she's very unhappy, and I agree. She probably is going to need more services than the level that we have her at.
All right, so Ms. Elvick hasn't expressed any desires to you as a 15-year-old, what she wants from the court and what she would like to
Yeah.
see happen with her placement and
Yeah,
care.
she wants to go home. And I just looking at my file, I've not prepared or asked a motion to consult with you. Yes, I have spoken with her on, she can be a very defensive, angry young lady. Sometimes she's okay with me, sometimes she isn't. She simply wants to go home, but I don't know that Mrs. Garza can handle her in her current psychiatric shape. But yes, her desire is to go home. And if, the Thanksgiving we worked on sort of without you to try to test the waters, if a day visit with mom, because I thought, well, let's gradually go there and use it somewhat as a reward system. This last incident, the meltdown was over. Am I going to be able to go home for Christmas? We've not really staffed that, but I believe I can speak for all of the professionals. We would like to have that day at Christmas. That seems to help some, but she gets back from Thanksgiving and we're sort of back where we started.
Okay, so just as a reminder, this case basically came in because Ms. Garza wanted help. Okay, so to the extent that Ms. Garza doesn't want help anymore, if that day comes, Ms. Garza, I'm not going to keep your daughter in care if one day you decide, okay, y'all are worthless and this isn't helping me, right? I'd like to go back to court and say, please dismiss this case so that, I can have her back in my custody. I mean, the goal is not to take her from you, is to return her in a better position and safer for her and safer for, your family. So I'm not here to penalize anybody. But, I mean, unfortunately, I have a few of these cases. Where and I'll say a few, like I have, lots of CPS cases, but I have a few, of these cases with, where the issue does not reside with the parents. The issue is trying to get the child to a better place. And these are always very difficult cases. I mean, the department has resources, but sometimes they are not as specific as what we need. I will tell you, Ms. Garza, I'm very open to, trying to think outside the box and doing something. So if you identify a place that you're like, I don't have the money for this place and I don't know who does, but this looks like a great fit for my daughter. Like if you find that place, please let Ms. Elvig and, Belong know, and we'll look at it. I try not to spend too much of everybody else's money, but what I will do is try to protect the children that are in my court's care. So to the extent that we can find a place that is suitable for, I will order someone to have a special contract and, to pay for those services potentially. So I wouldn't consider anything off the table at this point. Okay, so Mr. Garza, I'm not ignoring you. Is there anything you would like me to know today? Let me see if I can get you unmuted. There we go.
Well, sir, I really don't have much to say. I really don't know much. I'm barely re-entering society, and I just I understand that I got to do my part and comply with everything that was said today and on my family plan, so I can hopefully one day reestablish a relationship with my daughter. But right now I kind of just got to trust that you guys, and it seems like her mother's doing a awesome job, and she's really taking care of everything and looking into everything. So I mean, I was kind of happy to hear that. I know that she's on top to and I don't really know much about this case, Your Honor. So I know I got to do my part to to complete my family plan and hopefully, like I say, reestablish some kind of relationship with my daughter, because I haven't had a relationship with her since she was a little girl, and I hope to do that one day.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garza. So, Ms. Jacobs, if you'll work on a date, like a review hearing date for us, about 45 days, what I'm going to do is, in these cases where I don't have the kind of the best answers for how we're going to get the care that we need at this point, we're going to keep trying, and we're going to keep trying as a group. But what I will do is I will commit to reviewing this case more often, and we can come back and review and figure out if something's working, if things are not working, like what we can do to enter additional orders to get her into a placement or with people, providers that can provide her with that care. So what we're going to do is we're going to start hearing this case approximately every 45 to 60 days. So we're going to come back toward the, first week, we'll say February. Bertha, if you'll find that date for us.
Okay, you want the first week in February? Okay, I was gonna do January. Let's see.
No, that's only 3 weeks.
February, 9, 8, 30, 10.
So last week of January, first week of February.
I got it. Got it.
Okay.
I'm still on the court thing.
Okay. Oh,
Okay, so we're going to come back on February 2nd, 2023 at 11 a.m. Again, February 2nd, 2023 at 11 a.m. So in the meantime, the court does continue her placement. I find that her placements meet all her physical and emotional needs, and it's the least restricted placement at this time. I do find that Ms. Garza is in compliance with her limited plan of service, and that Mr. Garza is in partial compliance with his plan of service. I do continue the mother in this case, Ms. Garza, as the temporary joint managing conservator with the Department of Family and Texas Services. As to the placement, all parties, or we'll say if the child advocates agree to a move, as well as Ms. Garza. So if the child advocates, Ms. Garza agreed to a move, she can be moved. I don't want to micromanage the placement if y'all identify a better place for her to be. So what I'd like to do is when we come back on February the 2nd, if there are still issues with placement or with additional services, please have those. Bertha, that's fine. We'll keep it on Guadalupe Day.
thank you.
So I come back again on February 2nd, talk about service potential placements. Like those are the things we need to look at. Like what additional services we could have brought into her, what else we can engage her in. And if the placement that she's not in, the place that she's in is not meeting her needs, if we can find a different placement that will be more suitable to her specialized needs. Okay, so that's what I like to concentrate on February 2nd. So as to Ms. Garza, Ms. Itz, and everyone else, please continue to discuss this case. I mean, this is a case that every day that we're not helping, we're wasting a day. And as Ms. Garza says, she's older. This is not going to get any better, right? I mean, she's 15 years old. And the goal is not to turn her out at 18 and in the same position she's in today. Because based upon the testimony I've heard, the reports I've read, she is not in a position and ready to take care of herself when she becomes an adult. It is everyone's duty to try to get her to a better place so she can take care of herself, or at least not getting into more trouble than she's in now. Okay. So again, we'll see everyone back on February 2nd. Thank you for being here today, and we'll do better. We can all do better together. Thank you, everybody.
All right, happy holidays, everybody.